Zeus could break anything. A Titan, a mountain, a whole race of men. There was one thing he never broke. Prisoner, chained to a cliff at the edge of the world. A great eagle coming for him with every sunrise. His name was Prometheus. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to us and kept one secret that could bring Zeus down. All the king had to do was make him talk. He never did. Before the chains, before the eagle, Prometheus was a Titan, one of the old gods, born long before Zeus was king of anything. Name meant forethought. He could feel the shape of a thing before it happened, the way you feel a storm an hour before the first drop. It was a gift. It was also a curse. He always knew how the story ended. When the young gods went to war against the old ones, Prometheus read the future and picked Zeus's side. He helped put Zeus on the throne. For a while, the two of them were something close to friends. Prometheus kept looking down, past Olympus, past the golden halls, down into the mud where we were. Humans, new and few and shivering. No claws, no fur, no fire. They ate their meat raw and cold, and they died in the dark of small things a little warmth would have cured. The gods on the mountain watched them the way you would watch ants, and felt about that much. Someone made them. Someone set them down here with nothing at all, and then walked away. I have looked ahead, all the way to the end of them. They deserved better than the dark. That was the flaw in him, if you want to call it a flaw. He could not look at a thing he was able to fix and simply do nothing. Zeus called it meddling. Prometheus called it paying attention. So he started small. A trick at a place called Mekone, where the gods and men had gathered to settle once and for all who got which share of every sacrifice. Prometheus cut up a great ox and built two piles. One was the good meat hidden inside the animal's ugly gray stomach. The other was bare bones, wrapped in rich, shining, delicious-looking fat. Then he let Zeus choose first. Zeus knew. Some say he saw straight through it and took the bones on purpose, just to have his reason. Either way, he reached for the shining fat, tore it open, and found nothing underneath but bone. Clever, very clever, Titan. Keep your meat, keep your little men. Let us see how they enjoy it raw. There will be no fire on the earth tonight, or any night. Cold is a fine teacher. He took it. Every ember, every spark, every last coal. He pulled fire off the world, the way you pull a blanket off a sleeping child. And down in the mud, the last flames guttered out, and the people looked up at a mountain that had stopped caring about them a long time ago. Prometheus watched them freeze for exactly one winter. Then he was done watching. He knew what stealing from Zeus would cost. That was the whole terrible thing about it. He knew, he was forethought. He could see the cliff, the chains, the bird, all of it, laid out in front of him, clear as a road. Most people sin because they cannot see the end. Prometheus could see the end perfectly, and he reached for the fire anyway. I know what you will do to me for this. I have always known, and I decided a long time ago that it was a fair trade. He went up to the mountain, to the one hearth that never goes out, the fire of the gods themselves, and he broke off a single coal, no bigger than a seed. He hid it inside a fennel stalk. There is a dry pith in those that will hold an ember for hours, feeding it just enough air to keep it alive, with no flame to give it away. Forethought again. He had worked out how to carry the fire long before he ever took it. And he walked it down the mountain. The oldest smuggler in the world, with the whole future of our kind tucked inside a stick. He knelt in the mud where the people were. He tipped the ember into a little nest of dry grass, and he leaned down, and he blew. You know this part. Everybody does. It is the oldest good memory our whole species has. The grass caught. A thin tongue of orange stood up in the dark, and a ring of frightened hollow faces leaned in around it and felt for the first time the thing the gods had been keeping all to themselves. Warmth. Given, not taken. Free. By morning, there were 100 of those fires. By the next week, 1,000. Little orange stars scattered all across the black floor of the world. And up on Olympus, Zeus looked down, and he saw them, and he understood in one cold instant exactly what had been done, and exactly who had done it. Here is what most people get wrong about this story. Zeus did not come for Prometheus first. He was smarter than that, and crueler. He went for the thing Prometheus loved. He went for us. called for his craftsman, Hephaestus, the lame god of the forge, and told him to build something new. Not out of divine fire this time, out of river, clay, and water. Woman, the first one, more beautiful than anything walking the earth. One by one the gods came and laid a gift on her, grace, a voice like music, clever hands, and Hermes the trickster leaned in last and gave her two things nobody had asked for, a mind quick with lies, and a curiosity that would not leave a closed thing closed. They called her Pandora. All gifts, and Zeus handed her one thing to carry down into the world of men. A jar, heavy, sealed, taller than a child. He told her it was a gift for her new husband, and he told her never to open it. Take it down to them, set it in the house of the man who loves you. And Pandora, or whatever else you do not look inside. I know you. That is exactly why I chose you. That last line is the whole trap. He did not warn her because he was afraid she would open it. He warned her because a warning was the surest way in the world to make certain she would. She was sent to Prometheus's own brother, Epimetheus. Where Prometheus was forethought, the brother was the exact opposite, afterthought. He only ever understood a thing a moment too late to matter. Prometheus had begged him once, never take a gift from Zeus, whatever it is, send it back. But Pandora smiled at him on the doorstep, and the brother, true to his name, forgot the warning until it no longer mattered. What could be so terrible that a god would seal it away and beg me never to see it? Just a look. One look, and I will close it again. Who would ever even know? She lifted the lid, and everything Zeus had folded into that jar came screaming out. Every sickness, every sorrow, every small cruelty that had never once existed on the earth before that afternoon. They poured up into the sky like black smoke and scattered to every corner of the world, and they have never left it since. Time she slammed the lid back down, only one thing was still inside. A small pale thing, curled against the bottom, hope, and to this day nobody can agree whether Zeus left it in there as a mercy, or as the cruelest joke of all. Only then, with mankind already poisoned, did Zeus finally turn to the one who had started all of it. He did not come himself. He sent two of his coldest servants, force and violence, to drag Prometheus to the far end of the earth. A bare gray mountain in the Caucasus, past every road, where nothing grew and no one would ever hear him. Sent Hephaestus to do the binding, which was Zeus's cruelest touch of all, because Hephaestus did not want to. You are my own kind, a Titan close as kin to the fire I work by. I hate this. I want you to hear me say it. I hate this. But the god who can tell Zeus no has not been born yet. Forgive me, cousin. This is going to hold. He drove chains of unbreakable adamant through the rock and around the Titan's wrists, his chest, his ankles, pinned him spread against the stone, where he could not sit, could not turn, could not sleep. And then the smith wept and left him there. Zeus came, just once, to look at his handiwork and to hear the Titan beg. That was the part he had come all that way for. It did not come. You want me to break. I can see that you need it, more than you would ever admit out loud. But I looked down every road out of this, long before you ever chained me here, and I picked this one. So lean in as close as you like. There is no begging in me for you to hear. That was the thing that turned Zeus's anger into something worse, because Prometheus was not only defiant, he was calm, and a Titan who can read the future has no business being calm on a torture rock unless he has seen something up ahead that the king has not. You know something. I can see it, sitting there behind your eyes. Some little secret you think keeps you safe. Say it, and I will take you down off this rock myself. Keep it, and I will teach you how long forever can be. There it was. The reason this punishment could never simply end. Prometheus knew a thing about Zeus's own future that Zeus did not know himself. And for as long as the Titan kept his mouth shut, the most powerful god in the universe would never sleep an easy night again. Time passed. How much? Nobody can say. Enough for the story of the chained Titan to become a warning that parents told their children. And then one morning, something bright came walking up the one mountain that nothing ever climbed. Hermes, Zeus's messenger, the smooth one, the smiler, sent to do the thing that raw force had not managed. He sat down on a rock in front of Prometheus like an old friend just dropping by. You look terrible. Let's fix that. I am authorized to keep this very simple. One name, one prophecy. The little secret you have been hoarding about my father's future. Say it out loud, and these chains come off today. You walk down this mountain a free god. Nobody even needs to know it was you who told. Here is the moment the whole story turns on. Because the offer was real. Freedom, right there, close enough to touch. Every year of pain, over today, in exchange for a small handful of words. Prometheus was quiet for a long time. Long enough that Hermes leaned forward, certain he finally had him. He did not have him. Tell Zeus I remember the offer, and tell him no. He can end me any afternoon he chooses. What he cannot do is make me the god who saved him. That part I get to keep. It is the one thing on this whole mountain that is still mine. Do you understand what saying no actually buys you? He will not let you die. That is the entire point. He is going to send a bird every single morning, and every night your body will heal, just so the next morning can begin again. There is no bottom to this, Tytoon. You will do it forever. Then send the bird. I would rather feed it forever than hand that man one quiet night. Hermes looked at him for a moment longer. Then he stopped smiling, which for Hermes was a kind of respect. He stood, brushed the dust off, and walked back down the mountain. And behind him, far off, something enormous began to unfold against the rising sun. The eagle. Bronze-feathered, wide as a ship's sail, Zeus's own hunger-given wings. It came in low across the peaks, and it settled onto the Titan's chest, and it began its work. And Prometheus, who had seen this exact bird, on this exact dawn, 100 years before it ever came, did not look away. He made no sound that first day, and that mattered more than anything he could have screamed. Somewhere up on Olympus, a king who owned everything, sat listening hard for a cry that never came, and understood that he had just lost the only fight that ever counted. You can have the liver, Zeus. You can have every dawn from here to the end of the world. You will never have the secret, and you will never, ever have the quiet. Sleep on that, if you still can. The most powerful being in all creation had chained his enemy to a rock at the edge of the world. And somehow, impossibly, it was the god on the throne who was the prisoner, and the one on the cliff who had never, not for a single second, been owned. That became the shape of all his days, every one of them, for longer than there are words to count. The eagle at dawn, the long gray hours after, the slow knitting back in the dark, so that when the light returned, there was something whole for the bird to find again. Sunrise stopped being sunrise. It became the sound of wings. Below him, the world he had lit up got on with the business of living. Villages grew into towns. Towns grew into cities with walls. Somewhere down there, people were cooking their supper over his stolen fire, and had long since forgotten they had ever stolen it from anyone. Kingdoms rose on the strength of that fire and fell again, and rose and fell, and the Titan on the rock watched all of it drift past like weather. Here is the one thing all his foresight had never quite prepared him for. He had seen the eagle. He had seen the chains. He had walked through the whole punishment in his mind before he ever lifted that coal and told himself calmly that he could carry it. What he had not understood, what no amount of forethought can actually teach a person, is how heavy the word forever really becomes once you are standing inside it. Not the pain, the no end of it. Counted the cost. I did count it. I just never knew a person could pay it this many times over and still owe the exact same amount again tomorrow. That was the closest he ever came to breaking. One quiet sentence to no one at all on a cold morning. And then he did the thing that makes this a story worth telling, instead of just a sad one. Still, put the stalk back in my hand, light the coal again. I would carry it down that mountain tonight, knowing every single dawn that is coming. Every one. They were worth it. They are worth it still. He was not a victim up on that cliff. A victim is someone the punishment simply happens to. Prometheus had chosen every piece of his, with his eyes wide open. And that is the one kind of prisoner no chain has ever actually managed to hold. Think for a second about what Zeus actually won. He had the throne, the thunder, every god bowing low when he walked into the hall. He had chained the one being who had ever truly crossed him to a rock at the very end of the earth. On paper, he had won everything there was to win, and he could not enjoy a single minute of it. 'Twas somewhere out past the edge of his kingdom, past the reach of all his power. A Titan he could not kill and could not break, knew the exact shape of Zeus's own downfall, the day, and the name. And he was simply waiting, not plotting, just waiting, the way patient people wait. There is nothing on earth a tyrant fears more than a prisoner who is calm. Send the bird again tomorrow, and the day after that. And every day after that one. He will say it eventually. Everything says it eventually. He did not believe that anymore, and you could hear it in his voice. Each new order came out a little less certain than the last. Zeus was not really punishing Prometheus now. He was just trying to drown out a question he could not stop hearing. What does he know that I do not? So ask yourself, who is truly chained in this story? The one on the cliff, who has already lost everything, and is therefore afraid of nothing left? Or the one on the throne, with the whole world still to lose, pressing his ear to the door of his own future, terrified of a single word he is not allowed to hear? The eagle flew east every single morning, but the god it was really feeding on was the one back home, holding the leash. So what do you take away from a story like this one? Do not defy the powerful. That is the coward's reading, and it is not even true to what happened here. Prometheus defied the single most powerful being that has ever existed, and he lost every round of the fight, and he still walked out of it as the one we are quietly rooting for 3,000 years later. The gods got their temples. Prometheus got something better. He got our loyalty. The fire was never really about the fire. Look around whatever room you are sitting in tonight. The light you are reading by, the warm air, the screen, the wire behind it, the whole long chain of sparks that runs back and back and back to one stolen coal in a fennel stalk. All of it is the stolen thing. We are still living inside his crime. And the deeper lesson is really about Zeus, not Prometheus. The most powerful person in any room is not the one who can hurt you the most. It is the one you cannot frighten. Zeus had every weapon there is. Thunder, eternity, an eagle that never once got tired, and none of it worked, because you cannot threaten a man who has already sat down and accepted the very worst thing you are able to do to him. The moment Prometheus stopped being afraid, Zeus stopped being in charge. He just never once admitted it out loud. That is the real trade at the heart of all this. Prometheus gave up his freedom and kept his self. Zeus kept his freedom and slowly lost his peace. Only one of the two was ever truly unbreakable, and it was not the one holding the thunder. Forethought saw every bit of it coming. Every dawn, every year, every empire down below him, rising up on his stolen light. He looked at the whole endless bill for it, and he decided that we were worth the price. Warm yet, that is him, still paying. So that is the secret Zeus was so desperate to have. Here is the shape of it at least. Prometheus had seen that Zeus, one day, would lie with a certain goddess, and that she would bear a son who grew up stronger than his father, and threw Zeus down off his throne exactly the way Zeus had thrown down the god who came before him. Prometheus knew her name. That is the word he swallowed on that rock, every dawn, for centuries. The one word that could have set him free was the same word that could have doomed the king, so he kept it. And he let the bird come. Now, I want to hand the question over to you. If you had been the one up on that cliff, and you knew the price was an eagle every single morning, forever, would you still have carried the fire down? Or is some gift simply too expensive to give? Tell me down in the comments. I read them, and this one I honestly want to know. Every week I pull another forgotten god up out of the dark and tell you what they really did. Subscribe, and I will keep the fire lit for you. 'Cause centuries later, a mortal actually did climb that mountain. A son of Zeus, with a great bow and a very short temper, who took one look at the eagle and decided the Titan had paid enough. How Prometheus finally came down off that rock, and what Zeus had to admit to let it happen, is a story all its own. His name was Heracles. I will see you there.